Several centuries. They have brought in mulberry fans from North America. DNA testing of museum samples in Europe and comparing them with the fossil DNA of walruses from North America. Norse warriors, they brought blows to the northern walruses from Greenland. It shows that the Vikings, they went to North America a few centuries before its discovery by Christopher Columbus. The itness since antiquity is considered valuable the material. For centuries it was used to make ornaments or small the objects of usable. Although it is associated with elephants, it is a trade name for dentines, different species of mammals. These are blows to elephants and their extinct relatives, but also knives walruses, toll, or hippos. In the new research, a team of scientists led by scholars from the University of Lund, Sweden, he recreated Viking trade routes. Researchers, they found that the Vikings imported walruses from Greenland for many centuries before the discovery of North America by Christopher Columbus. Results and description of the research appeared in the journal Science Advances. There was a huge demand in medieval Europe for luxury products, including ivory. Vikings played an important role in trade with this raw material. Increased demand for ivory has led to them expansion to the North Atlantic, to Iceland and then to Greenland, in search for new sources of valuable raw material. What really surprised us is that a significant part the tusks exported to Europe came from very distant areas, hunting located in the distant Arctic. Previously, it was assumed that people Nordics simply hunted the walruses near their main settlements southwest Greenland, says Peter Jordan, professor of archaeology at the University of Lund. Scientists used DNA analysis to determine where the wrecks were, the wrecks traded by the Vikings. They obtained fossil DNA walruses from samples from multiple locations in the Arctic. The results were compared with DNA extracted from 31 ivory artifacts extracted from walruses archaeological sites in Europe related to Vikings, which allowed age of each artifact to a specific herd. We extracted ancient DNA from walrus bone samples. It's taken from many places in the Arctic. With this information, we could match genetic profiles of artifacts made of viral bones, with which Vikings traded with Europe, to very specific Arctic hunting grounds. Dr. Morten Tange Olsen from the Globe Institute in Copenhagen. Results showed that the walrus bones came all the way from today's Canadian parts of the Arctic. This raised questions whether the Vikings had sailing skills and technology to go so deep into the Arctic water filled with sea ice. One of the members of the research team reconstructed the likely Viking routes, taking experimental journeys in traditional Norwegian boats. Walrus hunters probably left the settlements as soon as the sea ice has subsided. Those who were sailing to the far north had very tight a time window where they could travel along the coast, hunt the walruses, process and store their skins and bones on board your ships and get home before the seas have frozen again, says Greer Jarrett of the University of Warsaw Lund. Importantly, these remote hunting grounds were not empty. It's a polar wasteland. They were inhabited by Inuit and probably other indigenous peoples Arctics that also hunted walruses and other marine mammals. This research provides independent evidence of early contacts between European Vikings and North American indigenous peoples. It was a meeting of two completely different worlds. The cultural. The Vikings had European facial features, probably they wore beards, dressed in woolly clothes and swam in ships built of boards. They hunted the walruses in places to pull the boat to the shore with length from the iron caves, Jordan says. In contrast, the Thule peoples, the Inuit protoplacists, they were specialists adapted to life in the Arctic and used sophisticated harpoons that allowed them to hunt the walrus in open waters. They carried warm and insulated furry clothes and had more Asian facial features. They sailed boats made of animal skin stretched on wood in the framework. Of course, we'll never know exactly, but these extraordinary meetings, set in vast and terrifying landscapes the Arctic, probably associated with a certain degree of curiosity, fascination, and excitement, encouraging social interaction, sharing, and perhaps the exchange. We need to put a lot more work to understand these interaction and motivation, Jordan concludes. 17 AAAAAAAA